But what happened is NATO was used and misused in a way where it started to threaten the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, known as NATO, was conceived to bring about stability and security of Europe and North America. But what happened is NATO was used and misused in a way where it started to threaten Russia. NATO should not provoke Russia. NATO should not provoke any country. NATO should advance its own interests for the purpose of defending and protecting its territory. But if it engages in a series of activities that provokes a war, then what they did was certainly not defense diplomacy, it was something else. So governments must be very precise and very accurate and meticulous and careful in their administration of defense diplomacy. It's a form of statecraft, or it's an instrument or a tool. The foundation or the cornerstone when it comes to defense diplomacy is that it is not offensive and it does not provoke. It doesn't show something and do something else. There must be sincerity and there must be genuineness. It is the right time for the world to invest in defense diplomacy, because a lot of the wars that have started and that are sustained is because of misunderstanding. If there is cordial relations between the militaries, they will never go to war. They will always have a good relationship, because you will train my military, I will train your military, I will give you certain equipment and weaponry and capabilities, equipment. You will do the same to me. My leaders will meet your leaders, my mid-level officers will engage with your leaders, my soldiers and your soldiers will eat, sleep, laugh, train and prepare for engaging exercises together. So defense diplomacy is the way forward. One must be careful not to misuse the term defense diplomacy. Defense diplomacy is not preparing for war, it is preparing for peace. For example, if you look at the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russia saw a key threat to Russian interests, right? If a country goes and builds a country that is inimical to the United States, goes and builds a base on the border of the United States, the US is going to act. If you take the case of Sri Lanka, after China border war in 1962 with India, India shifted all its nuclear and strategic assets to the south because they realized that China could attack the Indian strategic and nuclear capabilities in the north. Then at that point, India realized that there was a heavy build-up of American and other interests in its south, in Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka developed a market economy and left the Soviet orbit and became very close to the United States. So I think that there was a huge misunderstanding, and Sri Lanka didn't do it deliberately. Sri Lanka built a relationship with the US because it decided not to have a command economy anymore, but the Indians were having a command economy. So I think that a lot of these conflicts start because of misunderstanding, and to reduce that, defense diplomacy is key. At different levels, it must be at the highest level of state-to-state leaders, government-to-government leaders, then the defense chiefs of staff, then the Army, Navy, Air Force chiefs, the intelligence chiefs, right? So at different levels, ministers, different levels, engaging with governments. That is defense diplomacy. The bottom line is one should have no enmity to another nation. That is the philosophy of defense diplomacy, is not to confront any other nation state. If defense diplomacy is used for that, then it ceases to be defense diplomacy.